So Haley Joel Osment saw dead people, but did he see dead people and time travel? Nope. For that, you gotta do some walking. You slacking, Cole. Get with the program. The Long Walk is brought to us by director Matty Doe and stars, alright, bear with me here, Yanawati Chanthalungsi, Vailuna Fetmani, and Por Salatsa. Really poor all these people's names because I just butchered the fuck out of them. I tried though. An old Lothian hermit discovers that the ghost of a road accident victim can transport him back in time 50 years to the moment of his mother's painful death. So The Long Road is a complex flick to say the least. On one hand, at first glance, it seems to be a really drawn out, confusing, difficult to watch movie. It demands of you a lot of time, dedication, and your absolute 100% attention. And I feel like there are gonna be some people that check out of this thing before it gets to the point to where things start to click together. But make no mistake, there is a point in this film when things do actually start to click into place and fall together. And that's when the true beauty and awesomeness of this movie really comes out. We start out with an old man who lives all by himself in his childhood home. This guy's name is, originally enough, the Old Man. I'm pretty sure he has a name, but it's never mentioned in the movie. Even in the credits, he is credited as the Old Man. It's like a creative choice or something. Anyway, Old Man lives all by himself quite a ways away from the local village all by himself. He's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60, 65 years old. He doesn't really bother anybody. He's just kind of out there doing his thing. And it's known to the people of the village that the old man supposedly can speak to the dead. It's one of those things that people don't really talk about, but everybody knows, and not everybody's really 100% sure if they believe it, but when it comes to like a loved one or something passing away, they will go out there with the hope that he can reconnect them. He's not real big on people, much less talking about this thing that he can or cannot do. So in most cases, when people show up, he sends them back. When an elderly woman goes missing in town, her daughter comes looking for her and she seeks the help from the old man. While at first reluctant to help her, he does offer her some support in some way. I'm not gonna really go much further with the story there, but that's pretty much the basis of our story, but there is a whole lot more to this thing that I don't want to ruin. You may have noticed that I spoke about time travel a few minutes ago, and yes, that does take place in this movie, but not in the way that you initially think. Not in that traditional way that we're used to seeing. There's no DeLoreans that show up going 88 miles per hour in this movie. This is a much more, I guess, grounded take, if you will, on the whole supernatural and sci-fi time travel elements of the film. There's also like multiple storylines going on at the same time in this movie. When I said you have to pay attention to this thing, you do. You can't just be doing something else in the background while this is on, because you're not gonna get it. You're going to lose it. This is a movie that demands your attention. But much like I said, if you are willing to give it your attention, even through some of these slower parts in the beginning, you will find a truly engaging, deep, very thoughtful, interesting story here. There's no hand-holding here though, so get ready for that shit. This movie is not going to give you exposition dumps. It's not going to tell you what's going on. It's going to show you. It's going to show you this world. It's going to show you what's going on, and if you miss it, well, that's on you. We also spend a lot of time with the old man as the little boy. The movie goes back in time 50 years when he was a child. We get to see his child life. We get to see his mother and father and what happened to them. These two stories of like current day and his past life are all going at the same time. It goes back and forth between these two. One of the really cool things though is that it's not quite that simple, because this time travel aspect of the movie, it involves even another storyline that is thrown on top of all this. Now this might sound like just too much for one movie, and at times, if you're not paying attention, like I said, it is too much, but if you pay attention to this thing, it all comes together perfectly. Where this story ends up going, I never saw coming, and I thought was such an interesting take. The places they're willing to go with this thing are really creative and ask some very poignant questions. And even though it is demanding and it is pretty slow at times, it was never boring. I was always really intrigued with what was going on. The filmmakers did a really good job, I thought, of hooking you. I mean, yeah, you gotta pay attention to get hooked, but once I was hooked, I was really invested in this thing. I wanted to know what was going on. There were long sections of the film I was just kind of like, I understand what's going on screen. I know what's happening in this man's life, but I don't know where the fuck this movie's going. I'm kind of wondering what is the point of all this. But like I said, it all comes together later on. Every bit of it makes sense by the time you get to the end of this movie. This isn't some David Lynch shit that a bunch of weird shit happens and you get to the end waiting for it to all click together and you're just left there with your fucking dick in your hand wondering what the fuck was that. No, this movie 100% makes sense, and all the stuff that they had in the beginning that you thought was just fluff or just there because somebody was trying to be artistic, no, it all has purpose. It all has reason, and I really like this movie all the more for that. Everything here means something. Now, performance-wise, everybody here did a fantastic job as well. This is a subtitled movie. It is not in English, which is my native language. However, The Long Walk does not have a ton of dialogue, so it was easier for me to judge these performances, and they were all really good. I'm not gonna butcher these wonderful actors' names again like I did in the beginning, but let's just say that everybody on board here did a fantastic job. The character of the old man and the performance therein at first just seems like a really quiet, hermit-like, cagey individual. You don't really know much about it. But as the movie develops, you learn more, and a lot of that is through no dialogue whatsoever. It's totally reliant on his performance, and man, he did a fantastic job there. Closer to the end of the film, when we actually do get more emotion from this character and performance, it means all that much more because this character has been so quiet and you've learned so much about him just through his body language. When he actually opens up and it pours out, it is such a great performance on top of the wonderful performance he's given up to that point that it really hits hard. This is one of those subtitled movies that partway through it, you forget that you're reading subtitles. It's like you hear it in your head in your native language. And whenever that happens to me watching a subtitled film, I really attribute that to the wonderful performances and of course the really interesting story and writing. There's not really a ton of effects and things like that in this movie, but the few that there are, they all look very believable. They look like part of the environment that they're in. This is technically a sci-fi film, I guess. It does take place in the future, but the location that this takes place in Laos, is very third world, so we only get like little flourishes of technology here or there. I liked this. I thought that was pretty neat because typically when we see futuristic sci-fi movies, it takes place in some big high-tech city or, you know, it has future shit, if you will, just going on all over the place. This one was very believable. It was kind of low-key. The movie didn't like focus on the future stuff that was going on in this movie. It just seemed like it was part of the world. Without that focus on it all the time, it just seemed like the norm. And that is how it would seem if all this stuff was just part of our day-to-day lives. So while the story did a really good job of integrating these things into it and making them believable, the effects on hand here too, while not a ton of them, are very effective. Beyond the special effects, all the other technical aspects of this movie are pretty great as well. We get some really nice looking shots. The composition here, everything is very well done. Overall, this is just a really good looking movie, and honestly, I wasn't expecting it to look nearly as good as it did. Guys, The Long Walk is a very slow, demanding, and difficult to watch at times movie. The filmmakers fully trust in you, the viewer, so there is no hand-holding, and this is a pretty unconventional story. However, due to that, this is also a very fresh, original story. The performances are all great, the movie looks really good. Once the story hooks you, you're in it till the end, and the end of this movie, where it goes, you are never going to see coming, and I thought was just fantastic. While the commitment to this movie is not going to be for everyone, if you are willing to give what it's demanding, you're gonna find that The Long Walk is absolutely worth a buy.
Do it! Do it!
Show me the money!
Do it!
You motherfucker!
So,
Show me the money!
do it!
I really enjoyed this movie. It is unlike any movie that you've seen before. So if you're willing to commit the attention to this movie that it demands, I think you're gonna find a really interesting original flick. So there it is, guys, my review of The Long Walk. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you wanna help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys, and possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg C and Dragon Khan. If you like video games or you just want to see an old man that should probably take a long walk away from him play them, then check out my new gaming channel, Jag. Link in the description. Any support is appreciated. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Laos.
เจ้ายังมีชีวิตอยู่นะเจ้าตายได้ยังอยู่นี่
So before anybody goes down there into the comments and comments about how it is I pronounce the names of the actors and the people that made this movie, you know, I'm sorry, I tried, okay? This is not a new thing for my channel. I just don't do good with names. It's not even just foreign names, even names of people within my native country here in the US. I fuck those up sometimes. I am terrible with pronouncing people's names. Yes, when it comes to some foreign names, like very foreign names, I have an even harder time with those. And I've gotten some comments over the years when I've reviewed some foreign films of people saying things like I'm an elitist and all this and I'm making fun and doing this. I'm really not. I'm just that terrible at it. I wish I wasn't, but that just is what it is. I've accepted that fact over the years. I do the best I can. I'm sorry if I offended anybody by doing that. I'm not trying to be. Beyond that, that's all I can really say. And if that's not good enough for you and you're just still gonna go to the comments and say mean things or make fun or whatever, I mean, I guess the only thing I can say beyond that really is fuck you.